Thank you all for joining us here at I-80 Sports, where today we're almost 3/4 of the way through the NHL season. So it's time to see where all these teams are doing right now in the standings and who are some of the best, who are some of the worst. Guys, as always, thank you all for joining us here again at I-80 Sports. Thank you all for joining us here at I-80 Sports, and check out that new intro coming at you hot off the presses. Super cool. Kudos to Bob over at I-80 Sports for doing that new intro for us. And just a healthy reminder, just like at the end of that intro, make sure that if you're not subscribed already, hit subscribe and subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/I-80 Sports. Hit subscribe, drop a like on this video, drop a comment, and join the conversation down below in the comments section below. And if you want to check out our content elsewhere, you can hit up our website, i80sports.com, for not only our NHL content, but our NFL, MLS, NCAA football, NBA, and wrestling content there as well. Hit up the shop while you're there. Get yourself a t-shirt as low as $8. Get yourself an Irish-looking t-shirt, especially as we're rolling into St. Paddy's Day, coming at you pretty soon. If you're on Twitter, make sure you follow us down below at I80_sports NHL. If you're following us already, thank you all so much because we greatly value all of your support. I'm Brian. He's Tom. How you doing today, Tom?
I'm doing well. That new intro actually surprised me. I forgot we had that. So I was a little shocked there when you hit the button.
Yeah, we almost forgot about that, and it's more so because we took a week off. It was a slow week in hockey last week, but then B, I was actually away last week, so that's why we couldn't really have an episode. It was just a little bit tough to try to manage the times and spaces, but it's fine. We're catching up this week. So let's just dive first into the elephant in the room here, which is we are well aware of the ongoing turmoil in Ukraine and the unrelenting attack Russia has deployed. It is a horrendous and horrible situation. We are also well aware of how the NHL and IIHF is currently handling the situation with Russian teams, Russian players. Whether we agree or disagree is neither here nor there, but we would rather just use this time to promote a few places and people you can contribute to help Ukrainian refugees who are in desperate need of help. And the information that I'm about to give to you is going to be in the in the description below. The person who I wanted to highlight here is actually a friend of ours from I-80 Sports, not from I-80 Sports, but he has contributed in the past to a few of our broadcasts. Our good friend, Jack Dawkins, who is taking it upon himself to travel to Poland to help Ukrainian refugees at the border and deliver goods to them. If you want to help contribute to his cause, he is currently in need of warm clothing. He's in need of blankets, non-perishable food, and items. Even a money donation is accepted if you are unsure of what you can donate. Money is always accepted in this case, and then it can help purchase the goods that these Ukrainian refugees so desperately need. I have included down in the description below his GoFundMe page that he has set up for this endeavor, as well as other places where you can donate for this cause, for his direct cause at the border of Poland and helping these Ukrainian refugees. Please consider contributing. I've contributed, as well as many others have already contributed to this great cause. And if you're unsure of where else that you can contribute, look up on Google. There are plenty of other sites around the U.S. that are currently taking donations at local military bases, at local veterans places, to help these displaced refugees during this horrendous and horrible time. Like I said, please consider being the positive person during this desperate time of need. Tom, is there anything that you wanted to mention real quick before we move away from this segment?
No, not really. I mean, just pretty much echoing what you said. It's just a terrible situation. And the unfortunate part about it is that maybe the only way to stop it is what's happening now in the world of sports with certain things. But, just remember, it's not the Russian athletes who are for this. It's the Russian government. It's the Russian army, which is terrible. Don't think that every Russian hockey player is Putin's puppet. I mean, if you want to watch something just to reassure yourself, go back and watch the Artemi Panarin episode we did about a year ago and how screwed up things got for him because he spoke out against I'm just going to say Mr. P over there in Russia, and we'll leave it at that.
And I'll echo your echo of that one, echoception, but don't necessarily demonize other people who are not associated with this. We don't want to necessarily go in pointing fingers of people who are not directly involved with this and demonize those that are actually in support of the good people in this situation. So our positive message here is be a positive person, be a good person.
Exactly. It's horrible what's happening, but just hope that it ends soon.
Hope for the best and hope that things get better. Okay. So that being said, we are going to get into our regularly scheduled broadcast. We're going to dive right into the main segment. We're going to go right into I can't speak. Right into the nitty gritty. So let's pump the brakes.
Not so fast. It's time to pump the brakes.
So it's surprising to see that we're already almost 3/4 of the way through the NHL season. And yeah, this is coming a little bit early. But the reason why is because in the coming weeks, we're going to have the trade deadline coming around, and that is going to dominate our broadcast over the course of this month with different trades, different moves, and speculation, abound for the next couple of weeks of hockey. It's basically going to dominate the headlines. So we want to get ahead of that right now. We want to talk about our third quarter report before we don't have the ability to do so. So that being said, let's dive headfirst into this right now. So that being said, what do the current standings look like right now? So I'm going to read from Atlantic to Metropolitan to Central to Pacific. So let's start with the Atlantic Division. Currently in first place in the Atlantic Division. Now, keep in mind, today's date is March 3rd, 2022. No games have finished playing yet today, so the standings are subject to change as of the broadcast. So in the Atlantic Division, the current number one team right now is the Tampa Bay Lightning, the reigning, defending, undisputed Stanley Cup champion, if you will. So Tampa Bay Lightning are in first. Not too far behind in second place are the Florida Panthers, and not too far behind in third place is the Toronto Maple Leafs. Coming in fourth place right now is the Boston Bruins. Coming in fifth place, pretty surprising and quite hot as of late, the Detroit Red Wings. How you doing, Bex, on that one? And coming in at sixth place, the Ottawa Senators. In seventh place, the Buffalo Sabres. And, of course, in eighth place, the Montreal Canadiens. But I should also note the Montreal Canadiens have not been playing bad hockey as of late, and they have actually really kind of turned things around a little bit under Martin St. Louis. More on that in a little bit. In the Metropolitan Division, currently the number one team in the Metropolitan Division and actually the number one team in the entire Eastern Conference right now, the Carolina Hurricane. In second place, not too far behind, the Pittsburgh Penguins. Not too far behind that in third place, this will bring a smile to Tom's face, the New York Rangers. And coming in fourth place right now is the Washington Capitals. Now, rounding out the rest of the Metropolitan Division, a little bit farther behind, but not too far behind, in fifth place, the Columbus Blue Jackets, who have been surging as of late. Coming in next in sixth place, the New York Islanders. Coming in seventh, the best offense in the month of February, the New Jersey Devils. Can't believe I'm actually saying that one. And in eighth place, of course, it's the Philadelphia Flyers, but it's not like they're that far behind from the Devils anyway. So I don't know, maybe a little bit more on that later. Moving on to the Western Conference, in the Central Division, the current best team in the entire NHL, the Colorado Avalanche. In the Central Division, that is, I don't think I even mentioned in the Central Division, but Colorado in first place in the Central. In second place, surprisingly in my mind, the St. Louis Blues. And in third place right now, the Minnesota Wild. Not too far behind them. We got two teams that are not too far behind. In fourth place, the Nashville Predators. In fifth place, the Dallas Stars. All three of those teams that I just mentioned are separated by a point, which is bananas. Moving on to sixth place, the Winnipeg Jets. In seventh place, the Chicago Blackhawks. And do we even need to talk about who's in eighth place? We all know who's in eighth place in the Central Division. It's the Arizona Coyotes. Who else was it going to be? Like rounding out the bottom. But then again, if this was golf, they'd be doing amazing right now. In the Pacific Division, the current best team is the Calgary Flames. In second place, the Los Angeles Kings keeping up their hot play as of late. In third place right now, kind of cooling off here and there, the Vegas Golden Knights. And somehow, some way in fourth place right now is the Edmonton Oilers. I have no idea how this team is in fourth place. They're sucking on fumes at the moment. Moving on to fifth place in the Pacific Division, the Anaheim Ducks, who have cooled off considerably since the All-Star break. Next coming in sixth place is the Vancouver Canucks, who have been bringing it on as of late, though they lost pretty bad to New Jersey the other night. In seventh place, the San Jose Sharks, and in last place, it's the redheaded stepchild of the entire NHL at the moment. It's the Seattle Kraken. So
not too surprised by that, though.
Yeah, I'm not too surprised. But then again, my bold prediction from earlier this year that just keeps looking worse and worse and worse by the minute. But is what it is. All right. So with that all being said, and just running down the standings in general, let's talk about who is the current best team in the league. So, Tom, who do you think right now is the best team in the league? And let's just get this out of the way. Why do you think it's Colorado?
They're firing on all cylinders, man. I mean, their second line centers are leading scorer, and they have maybe the best first line in the league. And their second line center is their leading scorer. They're the front runner for this year's big prize at the trade deadline, Claude Giroux. The goaltending was questionable, yes, but they're getting what they need out of their goaltending. Maybe not Vezina Trophy caliber goaltending, but they're getting what they need. Cale Makar, Norris Trophy favorite this year. This team, you know, they talk about that mandatory suffering when you're on your way to win that Stanley Cup. You know, they looked good in the bubble a few years ago, blew it to Dallas, lost to Vegas last year, who I'm going to actually talk about later, believe it or not. I'm going to save my opinions for Vegas for later on. You know, everyone talked about them being, you know, 2 run and gun and they won't be able to do anything against Vegas. Well, you know, they suffocated Vegas in Jack Eichel's debut. Vegas had them on the ropes last week. They only came back to win the game. Winnipeg up 3-0 on them last Friday night. Final score 6-3. It's hard for me right now to sit here and say that anybody is better than them. It's hard for me to sit here right now and say, can they be challenged? And maybe one team can challenge them, but I want to save that for later as well because I don't want to spoil anything. But I mean, guys, come on. I mean, and if this team does win it, you can maybe say if they do win this cup, then this might be better than their 96 and their 0-1 teams. And I'm even going to say right now, if you want to go back and look at that 0-1 Colorado Avalanche, they actually were kind of thin on up top on forward. They kind of were in a weird way, as crazy as it sounds, especially after they lost Peter Forsberg. It just so happened that Joe Sakic had himself the best year he could have ever had. And if you were to ever, I'm going to leave it with this, if you were to go back from 2001 to say when Crosby really broke out in 06, from 01 to 06 in those 5 years, if you were to ask me who the best hockey player in the world was for those 5 years, I'd say straight out it was probably Joe Sakic. But anyways, I don't want to really get into a history lesson now, but yeah, it's Colorado Avalanche.
Honestly, I think Colorado is a very popular choice here. I think Colorado, has a lot going for them. Just to kind of echo some points that Tom made before, you've got a couple players on this team that are over a point per game. Actually, it's more than a couple. Nazem Kadri, 68 points in 51 games. Mikko Rantanen, 65 points in 51 games, 26 of those being goals. Cale Makar, 58 points in 50 games. He could very well be the Norris Trophy winner by the year's end. One thing I should mention, he's logging about 25 minutes of ice time per night. Kid's been an absolute workhorse this year. Gabriel Landeskog, 55 points in 46 games played. 29 of those are goals. And Nathan McKinnon with 52 points in 39 games. You know, the games that he missed, like he hasn't missed a beat. He's been fantastic. Another unsung hero on this team has been Devin Taves, who 42 points in 43 games. He has been fantastic. He has been, honestly, the one defenseman that is not being talked about in the Colorado Avalanche. He's also a plus 45 for this year. Just unreal how good Devin Taves has been on both sides of the ice. But I'm going to play devil's advocate real quick with how good that the Colorado Avalanche have been. I'm going to also say that Carolina in the Eastern Conference, the current best team in the Eastern Conference in general, they're a team to not sleep on. And I'll tell you why. They got a couple players. Yes, they don't have the same level of production that the Colorado Avalanche have. They currently only have 2 players that are averaging a point per game right now, namely Sebastian Aho with 56 points in 50 games and Andrei Svechnikov with 50 points in 50 games. Both players have been fantastic for the Carolina Hurricane. That being said, is their offense as potent as the Colorado Avalanche? No, it's not. But you want to know what they do have that I trust more on this team than I do Colorado? And I'm going to echo what I've said in months past, and I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but I'll just go for it. Goaltending. Now, I should preface it by saying this. Darcy Kuemper has been a very good goaltender for the Colorado Avalanche this year. 38 games played. He has 27 wins versus 6 losses and 2 overtime losses. He's sporting a 2.47 goals against average with a .919 save percentage. He has been doing very, very well. But Carolina, their goaltending has just been doing a little bit better. And by a little bit, I mean probably a lot of it better. You have the odds-on favorite right now for the Vezina Trophy winner for the Carolina Hurricanes right now, that being Frederik Andersen. In 38 games played, he has 29 wins to 7 losses and 2 overtime losses. Pretty similar on the board to Darcy Kuemper, but here's the difference. A 2.03 goals against average and a .930 save percentage. That is unreal. Even more unreal than that, Freddie Andersen has logged more ice time this year than Darcy Kuemper. And the fact that Freddie's stats in general have maintained that low of a goals against and that high of a save percentage speaks volumes to the production that Carolina is currently getting out of their goaltending and their defense. And I think that could be the difference for Carolina. Sometimes your best offense is a really, really, really good defense. And sometimes if you suppress and suppress and suppress, you're going to come out in a close game 2-1, 1-0, 2-0. I think Carolina is a team that nobody should really sleep on. Colorado is a great team. I think Colorado is another one of my favorites, another one of my best teams this year. Carolina is just that devil's advocate that I'm going to put out there as to why you should be watching them too. So we talked about the best. Let's also talk about the worst. So Tom, who's the worst team in the NHL? And yes, why is it Arizona?
I mean, if you were to ask me a few weeks ago, I may have said Montreal, but if you kind of look at what Montreal's doing now, you're starting to see them lay the groundwork for a plan to hopefully bring that team back to respectability after basically living off the brand for so many years like other organizations, namely Notre Dame football and the Dallas Cowboys do. They're finally trying to lay groundwork to get themselves back to successful product on the ice. Arizona, man, I'm not even talking about on the ice. I'm talking about moving into a 5,000-seat arena next year. The players not wanting it at all. The players are arguing with the management about doing it. Management saying, yeah, we would love to be in a 5,000-seat arena. Gary Bettman, yes, we're behind them. We want this team in Arizona. It doesn't work. It hasn't worked. Maybe since the Kachuk and Roenick days, when all of a sudden it was, okay, move teams to warm weather markets, and Florida worked, and, Phoenix has these 2 players, and it sort of worked, and Dallas won a cup. But Dallas and Tampa, I leave them out of that. They built pretty good teams. All around, man, I'm not even talking about on the ice. I'm just talking about in general. What are they doing down there? What are they doing? I don't understand it, man. This just has a dumpster fire written all over it. And you can talk about all the draft picks they have piled up. You can talk about that all you want, man. But in reality, who's going to want to go play in a 5,000-seat arena on a college campus? The ownership, are they going to be able to pay anybody to play for this team? I just don't understand why they can't just open this up to relocation. I guess Bettman just doesn't want to admit that he failed with this overexpansion into the warm weather markets. He failed in Atlanta, and now he's going to fail in Arizona, who are two fairly big markets, I guess, in the U.S., but it didn't work. It just didn't work, and he's refusing to admit it.
I think it's just too easy to say at this point that it's Arizona. That's the worst team in the NHL, just period. I mean, as Tom had mentioned before, we could be talking about Montreal in this situation, but since Martin St. Louis has taken over, this team's playing pretty good hockey as of late. Josh Anderson for the Montreal Canadiens, he, prior to Martin St. Louis taking over as head coach, had only, I think, 7 goals. He's now currently at 15. And Martin St. Louis has only been managing for 2 weeks, I think. Nick Suzuki has been playing quite well as of late. Cole Caulfield, don't even get me started with how well he has been playing and just adjusting to Martin St. Louis' direction in Montreal. This was the right move by Montreal all along. Get a younger voice in the locker room, get somebody who's a little bit more in touch with the younger group that's currently there, and build forward from there. And I think they're doing it right now. That's why I'm saying that Montreal's not the worst. It's Arizona. There's a couple players to like right now in Arizona. Clayton Keller is certainly playing competent hockey for sure. He's playing all-star level hockey, I would dare say. In 53 games played, he's got 46 points. He's got 21 goals. He's far and away the best player on this team, and it's not even close at this point forward-wise. You've got Phil Kessel with 33 points in 53 games. It's not like him. It's not like him at all, and he's not playing like himself. You put him on any other team in the NHL right now, he's a productive NHL player. He just does not work with this team. You have other players that have had a bit of a career resurgence this year. Shane Gostisbehere is the person that I think about that has actually benefited this year from how bad Arizona has actually been. But you have a guy like Jacob Chychrun who has been absolutely suffering on this team, and he doesn't deserve this. He's a guy that deserves to kind of spread his wings at this point, go on to a different team that I think he can actually be a really good defenseman on. And he is a really good defenseman. That's the joke of it all. He's got 15 points in 42 games. That was not the stat total he had last year. Arizona's a dumpster fire right now. I'll just flat out say it. I don't understand the direction that they're taking. I don't understand how they could be so complacent with being in a 5,000-seat arena next year. This is a team that, I'll be honest, I just don't see them as a legitimate team in the NHL right now. They're not. I can't even find the words right now. I'm that disappointed in Arizona because prior to the beginning of this year, I thought that they might have been ready to kind of turn things around. And I'm just disappointed and shaking my head that we're still at square one with them. I'm going to move on from them before I get even more mad. Surprising teams. Let's talk about some teams that have kind of turned some heads as of late and are doing a little bit better in the standings because of that. Tom, who's a surprising team or surprising teams in your mind?
Come on, isn't it obvious?
Oh boy, here we go.
No, it's not obvious. You guys heard me say this before. I'll say it again. What the Rangers are doing is exactly what I expected them to do. Most people didn't. I said this team's going to be a second or third place team and a shoo-in for the playoffs. I'm not surprised. This is what I thought would happen, and it's happening. So I'm going to leave that alone. I will say one thing. When
we may have lost Tom. It's entirely possible. But just in case we have lost Tom, I am going to take over here just in case because of that. So I'll give you who I think have been surprising teams right now. And I've got two teams that are currently not in first place or even sniffing the playoffs at the moment that have been surprising in my mind. And I'm going to be a little bit of a homer here for one of them. The other one, not so much. The first one, I'm not going to be a homer with. The Columbus Blue Jackets. The Columbus Blue Jackets right now are actually threatening to maybe push for a playoff spot right now, which is actually kind of surprising because before, the beginning of the All-Star break, they were not close to that. They were not close to that whatsoever. Look at this. I've got the I-80 Sports logo right around my head now. Let's see if we can change that for just a little bit. That's fine. There we go. Cool. So the Columbus Blue Jackets, let's talk about them for a little bit. So the Columbus Blue Jackets are a team that have been one of the better teams in the NHL secretly that maybe people haven't really realized. Led right now by Boone Jenner, 43 points in 54 games. You look at that stat total and you're just like, that's a little unremarkable. But it's the little things that this team has been doing. It's the defensive side of the game that this team has really been excelling on. Making some really, really good key plays in key moments that maybe go unnoticed to just the general hockey fan. But those who actually study the game, those who actually watch a game, see the little things that Columbus does and see that it's the make or break on a nightly basis for Columbus and why they're actually a team that's currently in the plus column and in the win column at the moment. The other thing I wanted to highlight here for Columbus is their goaltending has been improving as of late. Elvis Merzlikins had a rough start to the beginning of this year, but he's slowly turning that game around as of late. Same with Joonas Korpisalo. Korpisalo is a person also this year that really needs to turn it around if he wants to be able to get a contract this year as a upcoming UFA. All right, now it's time to be a homer here. The New Jersey Devils. Yes, they're currently in 7th place in the Metropolitan Division. This is a team, I'll be quite honest, I'd be curious how well they would be doing if they had competent goaltending. And you look up and down the list, Mackenzie Blackwood, injured more than likely for the rest of the year. Jonathan Bernier, already known, out for the rest of the year. Your 1A and 1B are out for the remainder of this year. They've been working as a skeleton crew with John Gillies, who they acquired midway through the NHL season just for future considerations, and AHL All-Star Nico Dawes. And Dawes has been fantastic as of late. He has been playing very, very good hockey for the Devils. He's also a mid-round draft pick from a few years ago. He's been doing quite well. But that being said, there's a couple players on this team that really need to be highlighted here. Jesper Bratt, 50 points in 49 games. He has played very good hockey as of late, and he's amassed 50 goals in 49 games in only 17 minutes per night. I'd be curious to see what he could do in more than that. Jack Hughes, 39 points in 34 games. This is a kid who's really turning into an all-star in his own right. He is turning into a superstar. Right before our very eyes. He's just been playing very, very well. Nico Hesher is another person I want to highlight here, 36 points in 48 games. He's really been playing very good two-way hockey as of late. And then lastly, another player that I want to highlight here has been Dawson Mercer. And the rookie on this team, 32 points in 54 games. He has been playing very good hockey as well. Great on both ends of the ice. He plays with a lot of tenacity. He plays with a lot of grit, a lot of heart, and it shows in his stat column right now. 13 goals, 19 assists. He has been doing very well in his rookie season of hockey. But as I mentioned before, the only difference right now for the Devils, this Devils team would be pushing for a playoff spot right now if their goaltending was actually up to snuff. They have used a total of 6 goaltenders this year, which is, I believe, among the most amongst the entire NHL. Like I said, I'd be really curious to see what this Devils team could do with competent goaltending, which maybe after this year, maybe we'll get to see. All right, let's bring Tom back into the mix on this one now. We lost you from connection errors, but it's okay. I picked up the slack and I talked about my surprising teams. I was a bit of a homer, so
I heard.
And continue with who you feel are some surprising teams in your mind.
So I had mentioned Anaheim back in our half-season report, but the thing with Anaheim is, like you had said, they have cooled off a bit. And I thought that LA would be the team that cooled off. And to tell you the truth, they really haven't. LA is sort of doing what Boston did, kind of what Pittsburgh did, more like what Boston did, because Boston missed the playoffs for a few years, not nearly as many times as LA did, but still, LA, you have the young kids there in Byfield and Turcotte, and you still have 4 core guys from those 2 Stanley Cups in Anze Kopitar, Dustin Brown, Drew Doughty, and Jonathan Quick. You have those 4 guys. You have some young blood coming in. But I'm going to tell you the truth. The team that I thought this would happen to would be the Blackhawks, but it's not. It's the Kings it's happening to. I don't want to say they're comfortably in a spot, because they're not comfortably in a spot. They're only 4 points away from being out of the playoffs. But there they are. If it were to end today, they would have home ice advantage against the Vegas Golden Knights right now in the first round of the playoffs. I got to tip my cap to LA. They've rebuilt that team pretty good. They've done a great job out there in LA. And, maybe they will make it as a wild card this year. Maybe they will make it as a second or third spot in the Pacific Division. Right now, Calgary is on fire. But Calgary was on fire in the beginning of the season and came back down to earth. Edmonton's Jekyll and Hyde. So I got to tip my cap and give LA credit. I got to give them credit where credit's due. Some other ones, I want to look at the East, but the way the East is right now, it's kind of shaped up as what I thought it would shape up as, minus the New York Islanders, obviously. Detroit's playing well, but Detroit started playing well towards the end of last year, too. So I can't sit there and say the Red Wings are surprising, One other team sort of that I don't even know if I could term them a surprise. The Vancouver Canucks have really been coming on lately. They really have been. Since Boudreau got there, it seems like the whole culture's changed. They're playing a little more loose hockey. They've said Boudreau is sort of a hands-off coach. He's sort of just go out there and play. Go out there and play, and I'll make amendments as I have to. They really destroyed the Rangers the other night at the Garden. JT Miller's heating up, and I guess the real question with the Canucks is this. Do we trade him or do we keep him if we're going to make a run at the playoffs? Because right now, if you look at them, they're only 5 points out of that last spot where Dallas is holding it down. And Dallas has sort of been Jekyll and Hyde, too, since the finals appearance. So LA, definitely. Vancouver, maybe. But those are my 2 surprises for the time being.
I'm going to make one honorable mention pick here because you mentioned Detroit before. I do have to mention Detroit as a surprising team here. And the reason being is because this is a team that actually could legitimately challenge for a playoff spot in the Atlantic Division. It is still possible that they can. Dylan Larkin, 56 points in 49 games. He scored 27 goals thus far on the season. He has been one of the main difference makers for the Detroit Red Wings this year. The other difference maker has been Tyler Bertuzzi with 23 goals on the season so far, 45 points in 46 games. And Lucas Raymond has been very, very good at hockey as of late. 43 points in 54 games. He is certainly in the conversation amongst all rookies for the Calder Trophy this year. Not too far behind, and actually probably ahead of him at this point, is also probably Moritz Seider, who has been a stud defenseman for the Detroit Red Wings this year. He's been a revelation for the Red Wings this year. 40 points, 54 games. He's been very consistent this year. He's played consistently good hockey as of late. The goaltending could be a little bit better this year for Detroit. Alex Nijelkovich, who was recently acquired by from the Carolina Hurricane in the offseason, he's been a little back and forth. He's been a little Jekyll and Hyde, as kind of Tom mentioned, in terms of play as of late. He's a player that, plays very well on a given night, maybe, lets in only a goal or two, and then all of a sudden puck turns into a beach ball. So, Detroit is a team that I do want to give an honorable mention to here. And while I'm giving them an honorable mention, our person that normally hops on here, Bex, hope you're doing well. But to round out this segment here, we also got to talk about some disappointing teams. Tom, who is a team or are teams who have been disappointing coming into the third quarter of this season?
Well, I feel like we glossed over the obvious disappointments in previous episodes, but there's one right now that's coming to mind. That's not the Edmonton Oilers, but that's in the Pacific Division. And this is going to drive some people nuts, but I'm going to say the Vegas Golden Knights right now, to me, should be doing a lot better than what they're doing. I figured Vegas would be a shoo-in for first place in Pacific. They are currently 6 points out of first place. Not only are they 6 points out of first place, they're holding on to a playoff spot by 1 point. 1 point. They lose a game in Edmonton or not Anaheim per se, but Edmonton wins one. They're out of the playoffs. They're out of the. They go down to the wild card spot, and if Dallas wins the game too, they're out of the playoffs. I've said it before about Vegas, and I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. Their over-aggressive style of acquiring assets does not help. Since their run to the finals as an expansion team, it seems that they've only gotten worse year in and year out. They have not been able to get back to the finals since they lost to Washington. Since they let Gerard Gallant go, they haven't won that vaunted Stanley Cup. They brought Jack Eichel in, yes. But at the same time, and granted, he's got, let me just pull his stat up real quick. He has 4 points in 6 games, which is honorable. 1 goal, 4 assists. That's not bad. But you figure in the Pacific Division, which was probably projected to be the weakest one out of all 4 this year, they would be running away with first place now. Jack Eichel or not. They're not. They're not. You have Calgary and LA right in front of them. Say what you will about Vegas, and I've said it before and I'll say it again. You bring these Petrangelos and these Eichels and these Pacioretty's in, and it's understandable why you want to do it. You want to try to get a Stanley Cup because you were so close in your first season. You want to keep the team relevant, yes. But it just hasn't worked. It just hasn't worked with them. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. This overly aggressive style is either A, going to come back and bite them when they don't have the draft capital to replenish these assets that they have. And I'll go back to the Jack Eichel episode that we did months ago. I said that this team has a 3-year window to win a Stanley Cup. And I scratch my head and I wonder, are they even going to be able to do it with other younger teams emerging and a potential team in Colorado in their same conference who is going to be at the top for a while? They are. So, yeah, I'm going to go with the Vegas Golden Knights here. I just think that they needed to be a little more organic or conservative, I guess I could say, in building a team and bringing a team along. And right now, it's just not working.
Yeah, Vegas has been disappointing in the sense that this is a team that should be the top of the Pacific right now. There's no doubt about that. I could beat a dead horse with another dead horse and mention how disappointing the New York Islanders have been, but why would I go in depth on that one? I could just say that again. So I'm just going to leave that out there and just say how disappointing the Islanders have been, and they're a team that should absolutely be challenging for a playoff spot, but they're not. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say a different team that's been disappointing in my mind, and not disappointing in the sense that I'm disappointed in them, but I'm disappointed that their season has turned this way, and it's the San Jose Sharks. And it's disappointing because at the second quarter, like right at that midway mark of the season, this was a team that was doing quite well. And this is also a team that's just been hampered by injuries since, and it sucks because they've lost some key players because of it. Doing well this season, Timo Meier, 53 points in 49 games, 24 from goals. He's been doing very well. Tomas Hertl is also doing well this season, 42 points in 54 games. But both players are players that have come up in trade talks for the San Jose Sharks. So are they going to be sticking around for much longer? That's left to be seen. What's disappointing is losing James Reimer week to week coming up here. And James Reimer in goal for the San Jose Sharks has been very good this season. 15 wins, a 2.84 goals against average, and a .916 save percentage. He's been consistent and consistently good for the San Jose Sharks. And this is a San Jose Sharks team that has been hurting for good goaltending over the past few years. And they finally got it, and now it's about to go out the window. And it stinks. It really does stink for the San Jose Sharks because they were having a good run up until the second half, and this is a team that just came back to earth, unfortunately, and came back to earth in the worst way. So my condolences to San Jose Sharks fans all 5 or 6 of you. But anyways, either way, it's
they have a good fan base. It's just they're just not good right now.
Yeah, sorry, my bad. But yeah, no, they do actually have a good fan base. But all right, let's talk a little bit about some high performers of this past week. It's time to talk high performance.
Your I-80 Sports High Performance Players of the Week.
So, Tom, who are you highlighting here?
Well, a little bit of a homer alert here. I gotta go, but I gotta give credit where credit's due. I gotta give it to Alexis Lafreniere right now. He's a point per game player in his last 4. He has 4 points in his last 4 games, 3 goals, 1 helper. Had a goal last night against the Blues. Had a goal against Vancouver, and maybe had the best game of his short career last Thursday night against Washington, man. So many people wanted to write this guy off, and I'm sorry, guys. I know I sound like a broken record, but I mean, patience is a virtue. It really is. It really is. If you add up his games played, which I'm going to try, and I'm going to fail miserably right now, he has right now 108 games under his belt. So, okay, let's say he had a full regular career start. You play how many preseason games? Let's say 6, anywhere from 7 to 10. So discount 10 games for a preseason. So that's 98 games. So basically, that's a season and a tenth of a second season played. That's really you can't judge a guy who hasn't even played a full 82 yet. You can't. So I like what he's doing so far, and I think that he will crack 25 goals this year. I really think he will with the way he's been playing. He's taken to that right side, very well. So I'm hoping he keeps it up. Just one more honorable mention of favorite player of mine and a guy whose torn I tweeted last year during the playoffs and during the finals, and a guy who in Tampa, maybe not in Tampa per se, but amongst other experts around the league, when you talk about the Lightning, has been sort of forgotten about, and that's Steven Stamkos. Stamkos in his last 5 games, 6 goals, 2 assists, 8 points in his last 5. He's the captain of the Bolts. They've won 2 Stanley Cups in a row. Maybe they can win 3 in a row this year. I don't know. But he's a guy that a lot of people have forgotten about and a lot of people wrote off. But, man, he can still play the game. He can very well still play the game.
Yeah, I agree with your picks there. And Laffy definitely has been turning it on as of late. I'm going to be a homer here, too. I'm going to mention 2 Devils players here that really do deserve the mentioning here. Jack Hughes, in his past 4 games, 9 points, 3 goals, 6 assists. He has been on fire as of late. He has been playing some stellar hockey. His quick hands, quick release has really made all the difference for the Devils lately. The other Devils player that I want to mention here is Jesper Bratt, who's really been the goal scorer here. 4 games, 5 goals, and also 2 assists to boot. So 7 points in 4 games. Jesper Bratt's been automatic. He's a player that night in and night out has found his way to the score sheet. And he's one of the main reasons why the Devils are currently one of the better offenses in the entire NHL at the moment. The last player I do want to mention here that deserves a lot of credit, and he was actually named Rookie of the Month for the month of February, Jeremy Swayman of the Boston Bruins. His goaltending of late has been very, very good. On the season so far, he's got 24 games under his belt. He's been splitting almost even time with Linus Ullmark. 13 wins, 7 losses, 3 overtime losses, a 1.95 goals against average, and a .929 save percentage. He's done very, very well for the Boston Bruins, and he is one of the biggest reasons why the Boston Bruins are in a playoff spot at the current moment. So kudos to you, Jeremy Swayman. He is playing on another planet at the moment. All right, time to wrap up this episode with our question of the day, which, we got done with our third quarter report. So the question is, simple. Who's the current favorite for the Stanley Cup? Tom, who do you think's the current favorite?
I mean, it's obvious here. It's Colorado Avalanche in my book. I look up and down the Western Conference, and I've seen what they've done to Vegas these regular season games now. And I look up and down at the teams in the Western Conference who are in the playoffs, who are on the bubble. And right now, whether they acquire Claude Giroux or not at the deadline, I don't see one team in that Western Conference who could take them out. Let's go over to the Eastern Conference now. I look up and down at the Eastern Conference. I see 3 older teams. I see 1 team with a little bit of experience. I see 2 playoff chokers. And I see, another team in there, my favorite team, who, kind of has some experience, but I'm not all that confident that they're even ready to win one. And I look at the East, and I maybe only see one team coming out of the East who could maybe give Colorado a challenge, and that's Tampa Bay, if Tampa Bay gets to the finals. If it's a Tampa-Colorado final, man, and it goes 7 games, I'll sign for that. That's great hockey. But right now, the Tampa Bay Lightning are the only team that I could see taking down the Colorado Avalanche. And if you look through the history of the Avalanche, they are no strangers to having to go through challenges to win championships. You go back to 96, Detroit, 62 wins. Everybody had all but given them the cup. Colorado knocked them off. Go back to 2001. They had to go in there against the defending champion Devils. Devils had them on the ropes. Devils had them all but beat. They were able to rise to the occasion to meet the Devils and win their second cup. Obviously, this is not the same personnel. You have Joe Sakic running the show, no doubt about it. But yeah, right now, in my opinion, it's got to be them. And if Tampa goes out early, I think that their road to the Stanley Cup is as clear as day at this point.
I kind of have to agree here. I think Colorado is definitely the favorite out of the West. I think they're a very clear favorite right now. It's given their record for the Stanley Cup. Don't count out the Tampa Bay Lightning for a potential three-peat here. They have certainly come on as of late. They're among one of the best teams in the entire Eastern Conference and certainly sport a lot of experience coming into the NHL playoffs and are certainly a scary team to face off against no matter what round you're in. A couple other teams to kind of keep in mind here, I think that could be legitimate contenders, are the Carolina Hurricane, who I mentioned before, so I'm not going to mention why again, and the Florida Panthers. I mean, the Florida Panthers have just been a team that have still played really well. Realistically, is it their year? Might not be, but this is a team that is going to go back and keep going back, and they're a team that's built for the future.
I can't toot that team's horn. They haven't won one playoff series yet. The last time they won a playoff series was 1996.
Maybe
I can't sit here and listen. I get what you're saying about them, but I can't buy the hype with them until they win a playoff series. And I'm really, really hoping, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, and I'm sorry to rant here. We need them in Toronto to play each other in the first round so somebody can shut up about not winning a series for so many years.
Please let it be Florida. Just because I want to watch the city of Toronto burn.
Go Leafs go. I'll root for the Leafs. Just because.
Fair. But hey, as always, guys, what do you guys think? Do you agree? Do you disagree with our takes? Let us know in the comments section down below. And make sure you're also subscribed while you're down there. Just in case, our YouTube page is down below. YouTube.com/I80 Sports, just in case you're here on our website and weren't aware and weren't subscribed. And you might not be aware, but you're probably not subscribed. Make sure you hit subscribe. And like I said, comment down below. Before I go through my whole rigmarole, as I always do, please consider, as I said at the top of the episode, please consider donating. Down below in the description, I have all the information there. So that way you can help Ukrainian refugees that are in turmoil at the moment. Please consider donating to this amazing cause. And as always, guys, make sure that you check out our website down below, i80sports.com, for all of our NHL content, as well as our NFL, MLS, NCAA football, NBA, and wrestling content as well. Hit up our shop while you're there. Get yourself a t-shirt as low as $8. And if you're on Twitter, make sure you follow us down below at i80_sportsNHL. And if you're following us already, thank you all so much. We greatly value all of your support. But time to go and watch some hockey. I know I'm going to be watching Devils Rangers tomorrow night. And it's going to be fun to watch. But I'm Brian. He's Tom. This has been yet another episode of NHL on I80 Sports.